it is time to take our fantastic fidget rings and add some curved text. So let's get cracking. Before we dive in, I'm going to start at my website, HLModTech.com. I have got a tab dedicated to Tinkercad with all sorts of awesome categories. Below that, you'll find the day one favorites, the useful starters, and the Tinkercad essentials. Under the essentials, I want to highlight the HLModTech digital library. So this is the Google Sheet I call my digital library. I'm trying to take my YouTube channel and give it a more organized structure. Now today's lesson uses a few things we've already built. First, the free fonts, and then how to add the free fonts. So you will need to have completed those. It also uses the sweet Sketch Revolve fidget ring. Once you have those complete, you'll be able to pick up where I am right here in the video. This is the website Tinkercad.com. It is 100% free and the absolute best way to learn computer-aided design. To view your designs, you need to click over here. When you look at your projects, notice they are all stored on the cloud and they're all private unless you choose to make them public. You can also use the wicked cool shared link. I am returning today to a project called a Sketch Revolve Ring. I'm going to just type the search term ring and press enter. Notice this is a free ring I gave away a long time ago. This is the brand new fidget ring I made. I do not want to wreck this, so I'm going to click on it and I'm going to choose duplicate so that I make and work on a copy of it. As it loads, you may notice red letters. This is because I made a complex part and it takes a little longer for those to load. There is my fidget ring with the word HLModTech on the outside. A quick refresher of the project. I'm going to double click on this sketch, and if you look inside, we've simply got two parts where it's going to print from this flat side up, and then there is a gap in between them. When we're done, we end up with a sweet fidget ring that works right off the printer. Now, while I'm in here, I'm going to mention I had a user say theirs was not coming apart. It was frozen together when they were done. To adjust that, notice I set my grid to off, and this makes it nudge 1/100th of a millimeter. So you can nudge it a few hundredths like I did. Of course, I'm going to put that back. If you want to nudge by tenths, you simply click this. So we used a 0.2 gap between these. If on your printer they are fused together, I would just try a 0.3 gap first, but just keep fiddling as you find the perfect measurements for your 3D printer. I'm going to go back now and I'm going to hit Finish Sketch. I'm going to do Control D. I'm going to move this over here. And now we're going to grab the sweet new text we stored in your creations. So I showed a way last week for you to add amazing fonts that are curved. I'm going to find the one I want to use. I'm going to use Bubble Balloon, and I'm going to simply bring it out. So we've always been able to grab the custom font text, but we've never had them able to be editable. Check this. Ungroup. I can click up here, and now I can change this to say something else. I'm going to put HLModTech and press enter. You'll see the red lines as it's thinking, and bang. There is HLModTech ready to be added to our ring. Let's adjust some numbers. I know that my shape is a total of 8, so I'm going to click over here on the height, and I'm going to make this 6 and press enter. Notice it does take time for it to re-render. You need to be patient. I'm going to change the inner diameter to the outside of my shape. So see how this is 25.6? That means over here, I want to make it at about 25. That way it'll be 0.6 stuck into the ring. I'm going to make the thickness 0.5. Let's select the two of them and do L for a line. I want center, center, and center. Now we can walk this into how we want it with a little bit of guess and check. I'm going to type 240 for my arc. Of course, wait for it to snap. And then I'm going to change this to 23 and see if I like that better. And it's just a process of guess, check, and nudge until I find the exact amount I want. And then I'm going to simply nudge it exactly into place. So I'm raising it up to the height where I want it to be. And then I'm going to shrink it this way so it fits on the ring as well. That's closer, but I still don't want it sticking out. 22.7. I can also make it thicker if I choose to. But bang, there we go. A ring ready to 3D print. How cool is that? I'm going to grab it all. Let's choose export, STL, and I'm going to call this HLMT text fidget ring and hit save. Today we're going to print with the longer LK10. This is Orca Slicer. We can hit new project, add file. Of course it is in the 3D modeling folder and there is the text ring. I'm going to just stick with the 0.2 standard settings. Let's hit slice plate and let's hit print plate. Once again, this is totally Clipper based, so you can just hit upload, print, and it sends to the printer via Wi-Fi. All right, so that one just came off the printer and it was a little tight, so we're going to print it again. To make life a little quicker, I'm going to click over here and I'm going to set this to 210. I'm going to set the bed to 55, so I am preheating it. Now we can return to Tinkercad, and I'm going to make two modifications. First, I'm going to click on my text, and I'm going to make it 22.8, so it sticks out a little further. Then I'm going to double click on the ring so that we're modifying it. So I'm not going to go a whole tenth, I'm going to go 5/100ths instead. So I'm going to shut this to off, and I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Off doesn't get rid of the grid, it just makes it 0.01 instead of 0.1. Now when I hit finish sketch, I can check out my new modified design. Everything's touching well enough that I'm going to be happy. I'm going to grab these two, let's export them again, STL, and I'm going to just put a 2 over here because this is version 2 of the fidget ring, and save changes. Now we can bounce back to Orca, hit prepare. I'm going to delete the one we did make. Let's hit add. There is the version 2. Once again, 0.2 settings, slice plate. In just about 7 minutes, we'll have a brand new spinnable fidget ring. Upload and print, and bang, print started. All right, so I bumped it up to 5x speed so you could watch this work for a moment. I have been totally impressed with the longer LK1 so far. Super smooth, super easy to build. You can find a full tutorial for setting it up and getting it ready for your first print using the bit.ly on the screen. Alrighty, so ring complete. Once again, this was the first one. It was tight. I had to really work to get it to open up, but as you can see, it does still spin. Words are on it, and it turned out super fun. Love this filament. Let's snap off the new one. Check it out. It spins immediately. So by switching to that 0.25 gap in between them, that worked like a champ. I like this as well. Of course, it totally fits the finger because we actually did the measurement back when we made the ring. I have a size 10 fingers, so that turned out perfect. And check it out. HLModTech added with a fancy font. How cool is that? Friends, a quick wrap up. Of course, a couple skills I want you to leave with. Of course, if you learn how to make the sketch revolve fidget ring, you're learning print in place, which is handy all over the place. Of course, I also want to emphasize how slick I think the fonts as your creations are. Being able to bring them in and edit them, I think is a huge time saver. And of course, I would love your feedback in the comments. I do want to quickly say thank you to everybody that supports me via YouTube memberships. Don't forget there are 3 levels of support starting as low as $5 a month. With any level of support, you get early access to videos. Also, make sure you pay attention for those members only posts. A massive shout out as well to everybody that supports me via Patreon. We are way past 500 members. It has a fantastic free messaging area where you can ask questions, post designs, gain skills. Of course, you can learn more with the bit.ly up above or the link in the description. Finally, friends, I want to thank you for watching. Don't forget every time you like, hype, share a video, add a comment down below, or click subscribe. You're helping HLModTech get just a little bigger, which absolutely makes my day. Friends, have a glorious day and keep tinkering.